Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Welcome back. Rabbi Isai, here we are, the Tzadik. Oh, no. We're holding the Tzadik Beis on Beis. Here, look at this pasuk for a second. What is this referring to? What kind of chatos? Is it also referring to a bird chatos? So chatos haif. Shehichnis dama b'tzavara b'fnim mal. This is a very interesting question. I'm telling you, if you think about these questions, they're all geschmack. We know that there's no klisharis when it comes to a bird. An animal, you do shchita, and what do you do afterwards? Kabbalah. You have to take a klisharis, you have to take one of the golden vessels and catch the blood. By a bird, there's no such thing. You take the actual bird, and you put the bird on the mizbeach. You swing it towards the mizbeach. You touch the mizbeach. You do azah, you do mitzvah. What's the pshat? Is the pshat that the bird is the klisharis? You don't need a klisharis. How do you view it? If you took the blood of the bird, you took the whole bird with its blood into the heichal, what's the halacha? We consider the neck of the bird itself is what the vessel that holds the blood, and therefore, by bringing it in, the whole bird becomes possible. No, it's similar to the animal carbon. The animal carbon, if the blood is inside the animal, and you brought the animal into the heichal, you could take the animal out of the heichal and catch the blood and do zrika, and everything is good. It's not considered that the blood went in. It's only considered the blood went in when it's in the klisharis. It says by an animal, not if by taking in an animal, the meat, and in the meat is blood. So maybe the same thing by a bird. Toshma, Pirkasa, if this bird was shechted, v'nichnas alefnim, b'chazra, ksheira. If a bird, after the shechita, jumped into the heichal, it was convulsing, whatever the word is. It was convulsing. I don't know, but is that the right word? Is convulsing the right word in this case? Okay, it's convulsing, and it just it had these movements. It started running into the heichal and came and made a U-turn and came back out. The halacha is kosher, and I could infer from this. I could be medayik. Hoichnisa psula. It's because she went in herself. But if you brought the bird in, it would be possible, even though there's no klisharis here and the blood is inside the bird. Says the Gemara, that's not a very good diuk, because then I can be medayik the other way. So let's just see a second. This is Pirchot Chutz. Let me show you the other one first. I think it starts with the other one. So, but it's the second case. We just brought it from another sugya. The Tamech Gabi Kachi Kachim Diktani. Where do you shecht karbanis? The kachi kachim. Where do you shecht them? On the north side of the mizbeach, of the azara. So you have an animal, like what I saw with my own eyes. An animal was shechted, and they don't want to waste time. So a millisecond after the shechita, they release the animal out of the cage, and it drops into a pit, and it bleeds out or whatever. And this animal got up on all four and started running around. So, Pirkus of Yatzal Adarim v'chazra. No, we're talking about a behema here. Usually behemoths, the ones that I saw had 4 legs. Pirkus of Yatzal Adarim v'chazra. We're talking about kachi kachim. We're talking about an animal, not a bird. It went to the south side of the mizbeach v'chazra. Pirkus of Yatzal Adarim v'chazra ksheira. If it went to the south and came back, it's kosher. Now, the truth is it doesn't have to come back, right? Rashi says it doesn't have to come back. It's just to mimic the lashon of what we just read, that if it went into the heichal and came back out, then it's kosher. Once you do shchita, once you do kabbalas hadam, this animal could go anywhere. And that's what the Gemara is basically saying. Ha'itzia psula. You're going to tell me you want to be medayik that if a human being, after the shechita, after the kabbalas hadam, took the animal from the north, dragged it into the south side of the azara, it's possible? Why would it be possible? You only have to do the avoid in the north. You can bring the animal afterwards anywhere you want. Of course, that's not a good deal. So then, if that's not a good diuk here, it can't be a good diuk in the first part. This animal went outside. We need it for something else. Now what? That if it came out, it went out completely from the Beis Hamikdash, it's no good. So in the ratio also, you can't make any diukim. Boy Rebavin. Another gishmakic question. Nishbach ala ritzpa va'asafa mau. If the blood from the bird spilled onto the floor, what's the halacha? Now, and you gathered it, va'asafa. You gathered it off the floor. If blood from an animal spills on the floor, are you allowed to pick it up and do zrika? No. If blood from an animal goes into klisharis and then from the klisharis it spills on the floor, are you allowed to pick it up and do zrika? Yes, because it was in the klisharis. So Gemara wants to know, what's the halacha with the bird? Is the neck of the bird, it's klisharis. Here, he did some sort of picture here. Like, is the bird, the actual bird, a klisharis? It's ruchi odeliazrich rachmana klisharis. This is the pshat, you don't need a klisharis at all. Why? So over here you have to stick in. Not that you don't need a klisharis. It itself is a klisharis, like this picture. It is a klisharis. And if the blood falls on the floor, you can pick it up and continue your zrika, your hazah, and your mitzvah, whatever you need to do. Or perhaps, no, it's also to use a klisharis. Therefore, we don't consider the neck of the bird a klisharis. And if it falls on the floor, it's no good. You would think, we learned the Mishnah that the blood of a chatos requires a pasuk. Mishnah. We learned it it's a pasuk, but we learned the pasuk in the Mishnah that if blood from a chatos touches your garment, you must wash off the blood of the chatos. What about a bird? No, there's an exception to the rule. Zois. So the Gemara now asks a beautiful question, and we're going to use this kind of logic on Omid Aleph as well. Here's the blood of the bird, and it spilled. It went flying. We have this blood. As this blood is traveling through the ear, it became puzzle. Typically, kli means the garment. And it's as if before it actually hit here, the blood became puzzle. Now, let's go back for 1 second. Blood that's puzzle, we learned in the Mishnah, does not require kibus. It's only blood that's not puzzle. But how could we have a situation that the blood of a bird is kosher before it hits a beged? As it's flying through the ear, the blood of the bird should become puzzle before it hits the beged. So once it hits the beged, it's already puzzle, and we don't have to wash it at all. The psul is because it's in the ear of the beged. The beged is not a kli. You have to have. No, we're talking about that if it goes off the floor, right? If you gather it off, you can't. It's puzzle. So the ear, as we're going to see soon, it's kemunach dami. Yeah, the ear space above the kli, as it's flying right over the kli, unless it hits like the front right over. But if it's flying over the beged, at that point, mid-ear, it turns puzzle, and then it hits the beged. It's already puzzle and hits the beged. There's a way to do it. You take the kli like this, and you touch the beged, so there's no air space. As soon as it comes out of the bird, it touches the kli. It touches the beged. Fine. Another gewaltige question. Nita is beged the beged mau. The blood goes from the kli, from a behema. Talking about an animal now. It goes from an animal to a beged, to another beged. Mau. Once it hits the first one, so it's already no good, and therefore it becomes puzzle. Went to the second beged, you don't have to do kibus. Or maybe, listen to this, maybe if it's on a kli, on a beged, you're able actually to squeeze it out. And once you squeeze it out and you take the blood, you can continue throwing it maybe. And therefore, the first kli didn't make it possible, and you could go to the second beged. And it'll make the second beged and the first beged would have the same halacha. Omar lei zu sheila. That's a good question. Ton kibus mimanav shach. He said, no, either way, any way you look at it, this garment needs to be washed out. Why? Either if you could squeeze out a beged and grab the blood from there and do zrika, it's kosher, ha-kosher. So you have kosher blood on the second beged, and the second beged needs to be washed. But if you cannot squeeze out the first one, the blood is possible. I know Rabbi Akiva spherely. I hold like Rabbi Akiva. We're going to have Shittas Rabbi Akiva today. We didn't see him yet. We had in the Mishnah, and Rabbi Akiva argued with the Mishnah, that what? That if this blood, as it was traveling through the ear, is a kosher blood, and when it hit your beged, it becomes possible, and you cannot squeeze it out, it doesn't matter, because since this blood was kosher for 10 seconds of its lifetime, so you're right that right now it's puzzle blood, and puzzle blood you don't have to wash, but in this case you do have to wash the beged. Why? Because it was kosher for 10 seconds of its life. The fact that right now it's not kosher, he holds that if you have blood that was kosher, and then all of a sudden a tummy person touched it, you still have to wash your clothing if that blood touched your beged. So in Manav you have to wash this garment. End of the question. Now, this question is about a 10-minute answer, and it's gewaldig. But I'm warning you that it goes like till half the Amid here. So you got to pay attention. It's not difficult, but it's geschmack. Boy b'nei Rami bar Chomim Rav Chizda. Rami bar Chama asked Rav Chizda. So just to remind the Olam, who is Rami bar Chama compared to Rav Chizda? Son-in-law. The Olam is holding. One of two, well, at least, yeah. Who's the other son-in-law? Rava. Who was second? Who's this? Rava. Rami bar Chama was first. And Rami bar Chama asked his shver. No, it just makes it a little bit, it makes it more interesting. Like, you know what's going on. Rami bar Chama asked Rav Chizda, his father-in-law. Nitaz abeged tami mao. This is a geschmack question. Here's the question. And this we have to, you have to use logic over here. You have blood that's flying through the air. If the blood is tummy, Levi, hear this. If the blood is tummy, you don't have to wash your garment. The blood is kosher, tar, and it hits your garment, which is tummy. So simultaneously, it became tummy and touched your beged at the same exact time. How do we view this blood? The blood was kosher blood, was tar blood, which if it touched your beged, you'd have to wash your beged. But your beged itself is tummy, and when it touched your beged, it switched into tummy blood. And tummy blood you don't have to wash. So how do we view it? Do you have to wash your beged or not? So it's gishmak. Why? Because we have a similar case where First of all, you have to, maybe I should have mentioned it before, but we kind of did. Since you're asking such a question, it's so obvious. This blood, Rabbi said, this blood in mid-air it was tar. I don't care what it touched later. I don't care who touched it later. According to Rabbi Akiva, that blood needs to be washed out of your beged. Because it haisel shasa kosher. For 10 seconds of its life was kosher. What happened afterwards doesn't interest me according to Rabbi Akiva. Obviously, put Rabbi Akiva aside. There's no question, according to Rabbi Akiva, you have to do kibbutz. I'm talking about according to the Manda Omar that says that if eventually it became tamei, you don't have to do kibbutz, you don't have to wash it. So over here, it touched a tamei beged and it became tamei eventually. But when it touched it, it was still tar. So maybe you do have to do kibbutz. That's only that it became tummy, and then it touched the beged. But maybe if simultaneously it hit the beged as it was kosher, as it was tar, maybe you have to wash it. Like maybe there's no difference. Amar lei, you're going to love this. The lashon here could spin your head, but I'm going to make it a little easier. I'm going to take out one word. Amar lei, Look to the Rebbe Lazar Rabbanon. There's a machlokes between Rebbe Lazar Rabbanon. Aliba the Rabba, according to Rabba, or the commentary it's Abaya. And as Abaya answers. So first of all, we got to get rid of the word Rabba. Because Rashi says, as we see in the Sugya, Rabba was defeated in this case. But Rabba was Abaya's Rebbe. Abaya grew up by Rabba. So to give him honor, we say that's according to Rabba. So let's do it again. It's machlokes Rebbe Lazar and Rabbanon, like Abaya answers. Okay? Ukudim tires Abaya. Fine. So let's get into it. This is also very interesting. I'm telling you, the Sugya is gewaldig. I love this stuff. You have the meichatos. Somebody went to Levaya, touched a dead person. You have to sprinkle him with paraduma water. Not to be confused with dam chatos, which we're also discussing in the same, next to each other. No, but seriously, don't get confused between dam chatos and meichatos. Meichatos is referring to paraduma water. Dam chatos is the blood that comes out of a carbon chatos. Meichatos. We know, anyway, I'm just going to throw this in because this has nothing to do with the sugya. Meichatos itself, the one that sprinkles, it becomes tameh. The one that gets sprinkled gets tar. But what if the meichatos itself is tameh chatos? It's tameh. A dead person touched the meichatos itself. A sheretz touched it. Does it have the power to make somebody tar or not? Meichatos shenitmu mitarim. So we're going off a little bit, and we're going to come back to our question. Our question is, dam chatas, which was tahar, and in midair, and then it touched a beged that's tameh, is it considered tameh blood or tahar blood? So now, we have mei chatas that for sure is tameh. It became tameh. It has the power to make a person tar. How do I know? Sharei nida, mazin alel. A woman who herself is tameh, she herself is tameh, she could get out of she has two tumas going on here. First, she went to Levaya, and she herself is a nida. So you could sprinkle her with meichatos to get rid of the tuma of mace. All she needs to do is eventually, when she can, she'll go to the mikvah and she'll remove both tumas. Just like a regular person who goes to Levaya has to go to the mikvah. She'll also go and get rid of tumas mace, tumas nida in the same time. But don't say that the water that hit her in the face became tamei tumas nida. Even if it did, it's good enough to be mitar. So you see that water that's tamei has the power to make a person tar, because obviously when it hit her, it became tamei. Almost anything that touches her becomes tamei. If she sits on a couch, the couch becomes tamei. So certainly the meichatos, when they touch her, they become tamei. Yet they have the power to make her tar. So you see that even something that's tamei to begin with, if the meichatos were tamei to begin with, they also have the power. V'amar Rabbo, Rebbe Lazar, B'shitas Rebbe Kiva, Rabbi Amara. Rebbe Lazar goes like his Rebbe. The Omar Havaras Kli Agabe Mokim Tamei Kimunach Dami. This is beautiful stuff. So here's the sheretz. This guy is dead. And we're going to pretend this is an oven. It doesn't matter. It just means in a box. So we'll put the sheretz over here somewhere, like this. Whoa, I might have broken it. Okay.
On the wall of the airspace, supposed to be a shark.
No. It's inside the mikvah, inside this. It's inside this, okay?
It's not a mikvah, it's an oven.
This is an oven, sorry. This is an oven. Here, we'll go like that. Okay, you see him? Okay. Now, there's a cup of water over here, and this is a window. Yeah, you could maybe I'll turn it a little bit. You can see it. This is a window right over here. So my hand goes in through the window, and I grab this water, and I'm going slowly, slow motion, just so you see. I just passed over the sheretz, the oven that has a sheretz inside. Now everybody remembers Kluta Kimisha Hunchadamya. Back in the day, I actually showed a football player or an athlete that took a football, an American football, tossed it, I don't know how many yards, 50 yards, and this guy's a speedster. He ran and he caught his own pass. But I don't even know why. Fine. So if you say Kluta Kimisha Unchadamya, we don't have to use that lashon, but the point is that as it's flying over, it's as if it rested. In every moment, it rests. Halachically, it rests. It's as if you put it down. So it's as if I put it down right into the oven, and now everything in my vessel over here becomes tamei. Even though I'm flying over the thing. What does that have to do with us? Because by nida also, and in our sugi also, as it's flying over the nida, it becomes tamei. It's as if it landed on your hand. It became tamei. The blood, as we discussed before, the same idea. The blood, as it's flying over the beged, it's as if it rested on the beged. And forget, it didn't have to rest. It's as if it rested. Every time it's flying over, it's as if it rested. When you're flying over Harabais, it's as if you're walking on Harabais. It's also for you to do that. Yeah? Well, I don't even know if you have to come on to that. But you get the idea. So let's see it inside. He is standing by the window. And there's a sheretz in the oven. We're getting to the Rabbi. I told you, it's going to take a few minutes to get to the raya over here. He stuck his hand in and he grabs the lugin, and he takes the water, and it goes above the opening of the oven, which we saw the opening of the oven is on top. Rebbe Kiva metama v'chachamim metarim. The machlekes Rebbe Kiva and Chacham. Ubahapli. And the machlekes is whether the water inside this vessel became tummy mid-ear. The Rebbe Kiva savar kimunach tummy. Rebbe Kiva holds halachically, as something is flying through the ear, move through the ear, it's as if it is placed down in the oven. And the Mela Rebbe Lazar holds like Rebbe Kiva, that by nida also, the water as it's flying over is as if it touched her, and it became tamei. And nevertheless, it has the power to make her tar, even though they're tamei. So you see that water that became tamei to begin with has the power to make somebody tar. Rabbanan hold the opposite. It's not as if it rested, and there's no raya to nida. Basically, Abaya asks the question, wait a minute. This is not a good case. Why? He says there's a difference between what type of tumah, A. There's a very severe tumah that creates tumas oil. What creates tumas oil, Rabbi Sai? And first of all, what is oil? Oil is, let's say there's a dead person. I just gave it away. There's a dead person in the room. The entire room becomes tamei. If there's a roof, it spreads everywhere. It's like a disease. What else could do this? What else has the power to make an entire room tamei? Bitumas oil? No, not nida. Mitzaira. A stone from a Mitzaira house that has tsaras on it. That, if you go over it, yishkoyach, he says. The power of the tumah goes upwards. It constantly hits planes. It does everything. Agavi mishkim v'moishev tamei. Agavi mishkim v'moishev here. Rabbi say here. This is a zav. A zav has superpowers that if he sits on a mattress, even if it's 10 mattresses, they all become tamei. His kalim, the stuff he wears. So yeah, this is from Nidarim. This is old stuff. I got tamei. That if the mattress is tamei, she tahira. Anything that goes above it is tar. Only if it's the mace that creates oil. And anything else, such as mitzaira, liasui, even amugas. This comes to include the even amugas. Here we go. Even amugas. This even creates. So Mela, he asks. Over here we're talking about a mouse. A mouse doesn't have the power of oil. So just because it went over it, it's not going to become tamei. Oh. That's not the machlokes if it says if it's resting and not resting. There's another machlokes. Oh, Rabbi Sai, think about it logically. I'm concerned, maybe it's going to rest. Maybe you're going to put it down. That is only a svar you could say if the liquid is in a kli. So as you're going like this, maybe I got tired and I put it down. Maybe I feel like putting it down. But what if it's liquid that's airborne? It left my hand. I went like this. I sprinkled the dam. I sprinkled the hazah. I can't manipulate it anymore. I can't control it. But we're not talking about kimunach. The Gemara says everybody, we're not arguing about kimunach. It's a gzeira. Am I going to put it down? There is no gzeira that I'm going to put it down. Once it left my hand, I can't put it down anymore. Maybe you're going to put it down. But if it's sprinkled, the kivin the navak, once it left his hand, it left his hand. And here we go. Rabbi said, what was the question? Let's go back all the way to the top of the Alma. Rabbi Chama asked his father-in-law, if you have tahar blood that touched tamei beged, what's the halach of this blood? Is it considered tamei or tahar? Does it need to be washed or not? And now, Rabbi Elazar, what's their source of the machlokes? Abaya, bedanin tuma keduma mituma sheba isasha kamifli. This is not hard; it's just hard words. All it means is the mechatos, the para aduma water that was tamei already. Can we learn it from mechatos that's not tamei yet, but became tamei as it touched the nida? Again, can I learn blood water that's already tamei from water that's not tamei but hit a tamei person? Can I learn that? Can I learn one from the other? Are they the same? And this is very important. Rabbi Isai, pay attention here. Blood, water, it's all the same, blood and water. Liquid that was tamei before, is it like liquid that simultaneously touched something that's tamei? Are they the same? And if they are the same, then it goes both directions. The one that's tamei before is like the one that touches something that's tamei and becomes tamei now. And the one that touches something that's tamei now is like the one that's tamei before. It goes in both directions. So in Mela, he says like this. Marsov Ardonim. Rebbe Lezer holds that you learn one from the other. They are both the same. And in Mela what? So now going back, if the mechatos that became tamei before is like mechatos that's tar in the ear, and it touches the nida, becomes tamei then. So then we have to go the reverse also. That what? That dam chatos that touches, that's tar, and touches a tamei beged is the same as dam chatos that was tamei before. Rabbi said, what's the halach of dam chatos that's tamei before? No kibus. You don't have to wash it. That's the answer to your question. Finally, we got to the answer. You asked the father-in-law, and then it's a big cheshbon that the father-in-law had to do, Rav Chizda. So Rav Chama says, we have blood that's kosher, tar, hits clothing that's tamei. What's the halacha? The halacha is, it's exactly as if it was tamei already before. And tamei already before, the halacha is, doesn't need to be washed. Umar Savar ain't done him. Okay. Rav Amar, just two more lines of the sugya, and then we're getting to really easy stuff. Rav Amar, the kuliyama ain't done him. Rav says, no, that's not the shaila here. The Reb Lazar Savar hazot tzricha shiur. Mechatos, the para aduma water. Let's say you need 10 milliliters. Let's say, this is a shaila. Do you need any? It could be a mashu, one drop. One man number says you need a shear. Let's call it 10 milliliters. So let's say you pour it on a person, only 5 milliliters, then you give it another zetz, another 5 milliliters. There's another shear, it's mitzaref. 1 and 1 equals 2. You get this full share. 5 milliliters equals 10. Here's the problem. She's a nida. 5 milliliters hits her, and then another 5 milliliters hits her. Boom, it's mitzaref, it's good. Problem. The 5 milliliters that hit her, they for sure became tummy now. How does it combine with another 5 milliliters that are tar? Is the charaya, it must be that the 5 millimeters that hit her, they do become tamei, and tamei chatas water is good enough to make her tar. That's the chap. So, it's a chap, it's a catch. Like, you wouldn't think about it on your own. Hazot, tzricha shir, umitztar from lazois. First of all, I'm saying that you need a shear, you need 10 milliliters. And I'm also telling you that that you could do it in 2 different times, and they get together and they work together. Rabbanan Sabri, Hazah, Ein Tzricha Shir, not true. You can't bring a raya from her because even one droplet would make her tar, and it's not a raya that tamei water works to be mentar. Chadis psulo. Tar Rabbanan midama. Midam ksher v'lo midam psula. If it's puzzle blood, you don't have to wash it. Why? Because it says midama, it's a miyut. Rebbe Kiva, here's finally Rebbe Kiva that says that if the blood was kosher for a moment, and then only afterwards it became puzzle, dama, ton, kibos. We have a list here if anybody wants to see the list. Here's the bloods that were kosher, but only afterwards they stayed overnight, so they became puzzle, a tummy touched it, or went outside the Beis HaMikdash. But if you have a thought of chutz zman, chutz makom, or a puzzle kind received it, then it's puzzle immediately. It never had a shas kosher. Shas kosher v'nifsala and became puzzle and damaton kibos. Then you don't have to wash the clothing. That's in the Mishnah. That it doesn't matter if it was kosher for a moment or not. Ein damaton kibos, because right now this chadas is puzzle, so the clothing doesn't need to be washed. My time of the Reb Shimon, where did Reb Shimon get his svara? Ksiv oisa uksiv midama. Oh, thank you. Oisa is a miyut, midama is a miyut. Two miyuts. Chad lehechad oisa l'shasa kosher. And one comes to say that even if it was kosher for a moment, you don't have to wash the clothing. Reb Kiva oisa prat l'truma. That when it comes to truma, this we had yesterday. That first of all, here are the psukim. Pasuk chaf midama. Pasuk chav beis oisa, and there's a concept called merika u'shtifa that when you have a chatos, you have to wash out the kli. That doesn't apply to truma. If you have truma cooked in a pot, you don't have to wash the pot out. Reb Shimon Tamei, the Amar Kachim Kalim, ain't tunim merika u'shtifa, the kolchkin truma. Reb Shimon holds that. Listen to this: a shlamim cooked in a pot, you don't have to wash the pot. So certainly not truma. Kachim is more Kaddish than Truma, and you don't have to wash the pot of Kachim Kalim, so you certainly don't have to wash the pot out from Truma. I don't need a puzzle for that. Givaldi. Says the Mishnah, Nitaz min atzaber ala beged einoi ton kibos. As we all know, that only blood that was in the klisharis, you have to do kibos, not if it comes directly out of the neck, min hakeren, min hayisoid. If it hit the mizbeach and popped back onto the kli, onto your beged, you don't have to do kibos. Min hayisoid, Rabbi said, what does min hayisoid mean? You should think about this for a second. Min hayisoid means not that it hit the actual mizbeach, it's in the kli, ready to be poured onto the shirayim, onto the yisoid. Ain't a ton kibos, you don't have to do kibos. In other words, it has to come from a kli sharis. Nishbach ala ritzpa, v'asafa, and ton kibos. If it's spilled onto the floor without a kli, then you don't need kibos. So then the question is, why does the Mishnah have to continue now? Ein ton kibos elodam sheniskalba b'kli v'roy lazah. Why does the Mishnah have to say that when we're ready? The whole Mishnah is talking about that it has to come out of a kli. The Gemara is going to address that on the base. I would think that if it comes right out of the neck, you have to do kibos. No, asher yiza, you have to. It has to be something. It has to be something that you could sprinkle, and you could only sprinkle when it's from a kli. I would think that if it bounced off, it ricocheted off the mizbeach onto your beged, you should have to wash it. Not if you already sprinkled it on mizbeach and it ricocheted back. Let's just turn to this. We could say turning of the daf sponsor. Why does the Mishnah have to say put it all together at the end? Says the Gemara, it's not saying it again. Matam kamar, it's an explanation to what we said. Matam why is it if it's spilled on the floor and you gather it, you don't have to do laundry, you don't have to launder it? Because in order for something to be chayev bekibos, it has to come out of a kli. Zira boy side, I pray Chanukah, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.